seriously popular.
Shall I just start again, the whole thing? I'm going to just do the whole thing again.
Go first.
Sorry. Welcome to the very first episode of The Life of Bryony, a podcast where we embrace the messier parts of life with no shame and absolutely no filters. This week, it's all about bodies, of course. I'm joined by the incredible Adele Roberts. We chat about everything from bowel cancer to self-acceptance to the unbelievable determination and passion for running that led her to break world records, as you do.
And once I started to change my mindset, that's when it really was the catalyst to change my life.
Trust me, you do not want to miss this. So this week, I have obviously been launching this new podcast, obsessing over doing this intro, but I've also been easing my daughter into her new life at secondary school, also tried to write my next book. Like, no pressure, Bryony. And I do this to myself every year. So I'm a freelancer. Probably some of you listening, quite a lot of you listening are freelancers. And when you go freelance, you're like, this is a way for me to take back control of my life. I'm going to be my own boss. Yeah. And I'm going to show you how to do work-life balance. And then, of course, you proceed to absolutely show people how not to do work-life balance. Like, I have this friend who always says, you know balance, Bryony. You swing past it when you're going from one extreme to the other. Which is a lovely, friendly thing to say. But what she means is I'm kind of an all or nothing person. And I'm guessing that if you are listening to this podcast and if you follow me on Instagram, or if you've read any of my books, you are probably an all or nothing person too. And the freelance lifestyle, I'm making it sound like really bougie and it's just not, is that you're always working, right? This elusive work-life balance. I was like, this summer, I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to take August off. Of course, that doesn't actually mean I'm going to take August off. What it means is I'm going to go on, quote unquote, holiday and continue to work while I'm on holiday. And I'm imagining this sort of like idyllic Swallows and Amazons style summer holiday. Like, you know, those books and those movies you used to read and watch when you were a kid, like the coming of age ones where the girl goes away and her parents take this grand house in the Hamptons or whatever for the summer, like the summer I turned pretty. And then something amazing happens. Like, in my mind at 44, that's what I am going to like create. Like, I probably need to get over this. So I was like, right, we're going to Greece, we're going to Cornwall, and we're going to have this amazing holiday. And because I'm a freelance, I can get all the work done before we go, and then I can just put this boundary down, and then I can return to my normal life in September. I will have won at parenting. I will have given my daughter these precious memories of this precious holiday with her mother. And of course, I did it really badly. So I was kind of like, all the time on the beach, I was like, all the people I work with on my freelance contracts, they're going to just be thinking, who does she think she is taking August off? So I was sitting on the beach having these imaginary conversations where people were basically firing me from my freelance contracts, stressing myself out, but not doing any actual work while I was doing it. And so that kind of backfired. And then, of course, come back and come straight into 5,000 emails, 25,000 words to write of the book. Do you know what I could have done? I could have said, I'm going to write 1,000 words a day in August. I could have got up early, tap, 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 written 1,000 words before anyone else woke up. And that would have been balance. That would have been balance. And then gone to the beach and then got on with my day. But no, I just ignored it all, came back and spent the last 2 weeks basically in a state of total overwhelm. Work-life balance is not something I've ever managed to achieve yet, and I'm now 44. I'm really interested if any of you have ever managed to achieve balance. And if you have, could you please write down the neat equation to getting balance in your life and send it over? You can do that by emailing me at lifeofbryony@mailonline.co.uk, or you can WhatsApp us on 07796 657 512. That's 07796 657 512. And what you need to do, you'll get how this, put lob, L-O-B, lob me a message. So start the message with lob and then it will get to me, and share it with the rest of us, because so far there is no balance. I'm all or nothing. We have a guest. And my first guest is the amazing Adele Roberts, who I first met back in 2017 when I was running my first London Marathon in 2017 for Heads Together, which was the mental health campaign launched by William, Catherine and Harry. And Adele was also running it, and we met and we really got on. She has been on the most incredible journey in the years since. We're talking bodies, breaking records, and Adele's incredible journey of resilience after her bowel cancer diagnosis. A gentle warning. In this episode, we obviously talk about cancer, but also disordered eating. If you'd like more information and support on these topics, there are some great links in the show notes. But for now, enjoy the chat with Adele. Thank you for being my first guest.
Thanks for having me.
On Life of Bryony.
Great name, by the way. Who thought of that?
Maybe it was me. I mean, I didn't come up with the name Bryony. My mum and dad did. So I wanted to do a podcast that's all about like the things that I think about, but I don't often hear spoken about.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk this week about bodies.
Sounds good to
like
me.
Not where I've buried them or anything like that, but we've all got them. And yet I feel we all have very complicated relationships with them. I myself have accidentally become a bit of a body positivity, body acceptance, body confidence, whatever you want to call it, campaigner, because I ran the London Marathon in 2018 in my pants.
I remember. I really enjoyed it.
But also a couple of weeks ago, the two of us, along with Lorraine Kelly and Ellie Simmons, we stood in the shop window of John Lewis on Oxford Street. I was just in my pants and bra.
I wasn't in much more.
You weren't in much more.
But for me, an outfit that I would never have worn back in the day. So that's why I'm so glad that you're talking about bodies and our complicated relationship with them. Because like you say, we all have them. We all have the privilege of living in them. And yet we don't always appreciate them.
But actually, more often than not, we hate on our bodies.
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted you on because you have risen to the challenges that your body have given you over the years. And we'll get to more of that. But what was so moving standing in that shop window was you weren't wearing much more than bra and pants. But what was really visible was your stoma, Audrey.
Yeah.
So when did you get a stoma? And can you explain to listeners what a stoma is?
Yeah, absolutely. So my stoma is... I've been calling it a front bum recently, but it's the way that I go to the toilet.
Yeah.
It's the new improved way that I go to the toilet. So in 2021, I was diagnosed with bowel cancer. Mm-hmm. I had a really big tumour in my large colon. Luckily, the NHS could help me. I was treated and they removed that tumour. But removing it meant that I had a massive gap, basically, where in a part of my body where I'd need to go to the toilet.
Right.
So while it was healing, while they were fusing it back together, they gave me a little diversion, got my small intestine and poked it out the front of my stomach. And that is what a stoma is. So stoma is Greek for mouth, and it's any opening on the body that has been made by surgery.
Okay.
So lots of people have stomas, but my stoma is called an ileostomy because it's formed from my small intestine, which now sits outside my body about 2 inches if it's behaving itself. And that's where all the output of my food and drink now goes, rather than me going to the toilet.
Very early on, you gave your stoma a name. And I feel like, I mean, I'm like, Adele's here, but Audrey is also here.
Absolutely.
Can you talk me through why you called the stoma Audrey?
Yeah. So my stoma happened very quickly. So I didn't know if I was going to get a stoma as a result of surgery because they didn't know how big the tumour was. So it was a little surprise. They said it could happen, but I wasn't sure. So when I woke up from the surgery, looked under the covers and saw that I had a stoma.
Oh, what? So, like, they didn't tell you?
No, I didn't know.
I was like, surprise!
Yeah, totally.
Like, but did they do like a bit like an unveiling? Like, is there like like gender reveal things? Like, will there be a stoma here or not? Seriously, they didn't say to you, oh, by the way, Adele, when you lift up your covers, you will see that you've got a stoma.
No.
No, they would just like let you get on with finding out.
So it was weird as well because it was during COVID. So I never actually properly saw anybody's face. So I'd only ever see people's eyes, lots of kind eyes. And
Because everyone was wearing masks.
yes, that's right.
Right.
But when I woke up, I was alone. And so first of all, I was like, thank God I'm alive. And I made it through surgery, pulled back my covers, saw that I had a stoma.
How did you feel at that moment?
Grateful.
Really?
And I know that might be really surprising, but getting told you've got cancer, I thought it was over for me. So when I was diagnosed, there was this really sort of like strange second where I felt like I had no life. And then the doctor said he could help me and it felt like I got my life back. And it was a massive defining moment in my life. And I just felt everything had gone and then everything had returned. And even though I didn't know when I went into that room that I was going to be told that, coming out of the room, I was transformed forever. In a lot of ways, it was scary, but also in that moment, I was so grateful, Bryony, for a second chance at life. And that's how it felt to me. So when I got my stoma, I was just like, this is the new me, the improved me. And what's really strange is when I eventually was able to be well enough to go to the toilet to go and see the stoma, see myself stood up, it felt like I was finally complete and it was me. And I finally liked what my body looked like.
Really?
Really. Because I'd struggled so much when I was younger with body image.
Let's talk about this because I first met you in 2017, I think.
Yeah.
And we were both running the London Marathon for Heads together.
Yeah.
And I always remember thinking you're lovely, but quite quiet. And then I remember asking you to I did this 10Ks in 10 days thing in 2022. So it's just after you got diagnosed. And I asked you to come and run a 10K with me. And I remember we were out there. We ran from like Hampstead Heath down to Regent's Park, didn't we? And I remember around Primrose Hill, I remember you saying to me that you would never have had the guts to say yes to doing something like this or to even talk to me properly, and that you were really shy and that basically cancer had changed your whole life and your whole outlook about your body and about stuff. And I had no idea that there was this kind of whole world before Adele Roberts, Radio 1 DJ, successful, where, you know, there's a quote in your book where you said you spent your like early years feeling like a toad.
Absolutely. Yeah. Feeling grotesque. And I think looking back, inside and outside, I just felt like I never fit in. I felt like, I didn't deserve good things. And like you say, I was just incredibly shy. And that might seem strange to people because people might have seen me on Big Brother or they might have seen me on the radio.
So you were on Big Brother when you were 23?
Yeah.
But did you feel like a toad when you went on Big Brother?
Yes. I'd gone on to Big Brother to hide in plain sight. And I didn't realise how much I self-harmed within, how much I talked down to myself and hurt myself within and had negative thoughts. On the outside, it looked like I was successful. So it looked like I was working my way through radio and going from local radio to regional to national radio, eventually being on Radio 1. But it seemed like the more success I got, the more I didn't like myself or love myself or rate myself or look after myself.
You said self-harming from within, so obviously talking down to yourself. Mm-hmm. But what were the other ways in which you self-harmed? Was that food or...?
Absolutely food, yeah. So I was a lot bigger. I think by the time I met you in 2017, I'd started to change my relationship with food and lifestyle and start to look after myself. Most of my adult life, I've been quite overweight. And I think that I could never deal with my feelings. I used to ignore how I felt inside and I used to comfort myself with food. Also, when I was younger, we didn't really have much and I don't think there must have been much food around. So I think it was like for the first time I can afford food. So I think I'd almost overindulged on that as well.
Well, but it is true that our brains, if we are in starvation mode or if we don't get enough, as soon as we're able to, we want to eat. So you grew up in Southport, gay in the 80s.
Yeah, you see, this is it. I didn't know I was gay. I didn't work out I was gay till I was about 15, but I knew how people would speak about gay people. Yeah. I knew how in the 90s a lot of health conditions were attributed to gay people. I knew all the derogatory language. I knew that people that were gay and on TV would often be ridiculed and then
they would die of AIDS.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
the misnomer.
That was the solo storyline that gay people got in the 80s and 90s, right?
Absolutely.
So not particularly like cheery or...
No. And if you're a gay woman, you're in a prison and you probably had a fight with someone, you know?
Yeah.
So the representation just wasn't there.
No.
A lot of things that happened to me when I was younger. And so I kind of wasn't the best at coping with emotions, because I think, you know, where I grew up north, you just get on with it. You don't talk about it. And so, yeah, as I got older, I just used to bury my feelings. And I think that manifested in terms of me not looking after myself, not dressing well, not doing my hair properly, overeating, and just feeling very quite sad inside.
I think the thing we don't talk about now is sort of how we can treat food like a drug.
Yeah,
you know?
it was my drug.
I've had periods of binge eating disorder, and it's such an effective way to numb yourself.
Yeah.
And in a way, we have quite a lot of empathy for people, and I know this myself as a woman in recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction. We have quite a lot of, I mean, still there's a long way to go in terms of understanding of alcoholism and addiction, but we still can't understand food as a sort of an addiction and a way, and we still really shame people who use food as a way to numb themselves.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was maybe a little bit of a control thing, because I couldn't control a lot of the things that happened in my life or that had happened to me. But I think with food, I felt like that's my thing, and that's my thing that makes me feel good. And so I think I just, like you say, used it as a drug. It used to sort of take me away from having to deal with reality.
So food was something that you could control. It was like your own private little world.
Yeah, the moment I got a job and knew that I could afford my own food, I was like, get in.
Really?
Honestly, yeah. Because it was one of the things that I felt confident about. I wasn't confident about clothes. I wasn't confident about my body. And I think looking back now, this stems down to the way that my mum was treated. I thought my mum was the most beautiful, gorgeous woman I'd ever seen. She gave me 5 brothers and sisters, so she had 6 kids. She had this most beautiful, gorgeous, big body. And the way people would speak about her body... Sorry, I don't want to get upset. It's just because it was her birthday yesterday and I miss her. But
because she passed away earlier this year. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. She had this... To me, she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and I loved her. But the way people would speak about her body, her skin colour, her stretch marks, it hurt, you know, it hurt a lot. And I think that made me not appreciate my own body. I think that I made my body look like my mum's body because I loved her so much. And I think looking back, my mum coped with her tough life with food. I think that was one of the things she could control. She had me really young as well. She had me when she was 16. She lost her parents when she was 13. So I think that food was one of the things she could use to help herself and make herself happy. And I think I just sort of like copied her behaviour, but didn't realise it was wrong. And it wasn't until I met Kate that I realised that I wasn't really coping. I was ignoring things, burying things, and not dealing with things properly. But I think, a lot of my body image issues come from me thinking my mum was so beautiful, yet society rejecting her.
So you say that food, like, this is, sorry, I'm going to hold your hand.
Thank you.
I hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
For anyone listening and not watching, I'm holding Adele's hand. And the thing you say about how food is like the wrong way to cope with things, but I think it's like we just don't have this conversation enough, and it's the way lots of people cope with things, you know. And I think that word wrong is like, it's not wrong, it's just how it is. And I think it's really important that we have these conversations because like we know that a lot of food companies purposely design food so that it is addictive or it's, you know, comforting. And it's, so I think there's a kind of like, we shame ourselves. And then you always get people who are like, well, I just eat, happy, healthy. You know, have you tried losing weight with willpower? And I'm like, oh, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? And then for a lot of people also, like, they don't understand that food is not about, like, for me, my relationship with food isn't about my weight. It's about the numbing and you know, it's like I want to have a relationship with food that is about nourishing myself and not punishing myself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And it isn't about a number on scales, you know?
Totally agree.
Because I think everyone's healthy looks completely different. That was why standing in that shop window was really powerful, because it was like, I wanted to say as a size 18 to 20, like, this is my body, you know, like, and I have every right to stand in this shop window, whatever size I am.
Yeah.
Like, if I lost 5 stone, if I gained 5 stone, I'm a human fucking being.
Yes.
You know, like, let's see each other for who we are.
Yes.
There was a moment we were standing in that shop window and you could see Audrey and these 2 women. I don't know if you remember this. I'm pretty sure you must.
Yeah.
These 2 women stood there and they were kind of like, I was watching them. They were like women of a certain age, sort of in their 60s, and they were like flabbergasted and quite emotional because clearly one of them had a stoma.
Do you reckon?
I think that was it. They hadn't seen. I think they
hadn't seen somebody, had they?
They'd never seen someone publicly showing their stoma.
Yeah. And I think they even waved at Audrey. They waved at me and then they waved at Audrey.
That was totally what I read from the situation, that they were really moved by seeing you standing there so proudly with Audrey on show.
I just knew how important it was for that visibility and to show that there's nothing to be ashamed of. I'd made that mistake in the past. I'd been ashamed of a lot of things in the past and not wanted to openly be gay or be proud of my heritage or be proud of my body. So I thought, you're not doing that anymore. You know, going forward, you can actually help people and you can help change people's minds, because I think a lot of the time it's just normalising things.
But also, like, just listening to you, I'm thinking that there are so many, you know, the kind of racism, homophobia, all of that stuff that, you know, you've had to really fight quite hard to accept yourself on your, like, for who you are.
Yeah.
So you heard people commenting negatively about your mother's body, which you thought was beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And my mum would always give everything to her children instead of looking after herself. So I think I saw looking after yourself as being selfish instead of self-care.
Right.
So there's a lot of messaging that I got wrong. And when I met my partner, Kate, she helped me to start to change my mindset. And
Kate's here.
Yeah, is that all right?
Can I ask, how long have you 2 been together?
Is it nearly 21 years now?
Yeah.
21 years?
21 years.
Oh my God. How did you meet?
Kate came to my radio station.
I'd been out in Blackpool the night before and seen a girl DJing and I was like, wow, that's what I'm going to do with my life.
So we had a mutual friend that introduced us because Kate wanted to be a DJ.
Right.
And then she came to my radio station. I remember thinking, oh, she's beautiful, but I just didn't know that she was gay. She comes into my studio and she casually mentioned that she was going on a date with a girl, and I just chased it out. I thought, right, go on the date and then I'll see if, like, you'll consider going on a date with me. It took me a while, actually, Bryony. She didn't want it for a long time.
I wanted it. I was just pretending I didn't want it. And I wasn't going on a date as well. That was my little code.
So that was your code to say, I'm a lesbian as well. Yeah.
This is pre-social media.
It was all very clandestine.
Like, lesbian visibility is still quite low, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Like, you were talking about your friends, the Queen lesbians.
Oh, Linda Riley, the head lesbian of the world.
Yeah.
And you were like, there's so few public lesbians that, you know, like, we have to make the head lesbian of the world, deputy head lesbian of the world.
There's a whole system.
I think you 2 are high up there.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're trying our best because Jane Hill News, because I always say people's social media handles.
Jane Hill News. She's the news presenter on the BBC.
Yeah, and she pointed it out to me. She said, when you look around, you'll realise there's not many gay women in terms of, like, media. And then when I did, I was like, oh, yeah.
There's just you and at Jane Hill
Well,
News.
no, to me, there's the Balding, Claire Balding.
Yeah.
Ledge,
You're just going to list famous
and Sandy
lesbians now.
Toxic. No, that's it, though. Claire and Sandy, innit?
In this country.
Yeah.
Can you think of any more that aren't sporty?
Sue Perkins.
Oh, yeah, let's have a go. Let's see how many. Try and name 5. Go. And you work in media. Go.
Okay. Sue Perkins.
Don't out anyone. Sue's not out.
Sue's not out. Come on. I mean, like, what? I know who else.
Go on.
Steph Pat Lunch.
Steph Pat Lunch.
At Steph Pat Lunch. At Jane Hill News.
All right, we've done it.
Adele Roberts. At Kate Holderness.
At KD Lang.
That particular marathon in 2017, that Heads Together one, I don't know about you, it felt like a really magic moment in terms of, like, the conversation as well about mental health, because you had William, Catherine, Harry. I just remember there feeling like this real magic. And what was so magic about it was that there was this, it was like the first time I saw people come together to do exercise for the way it made them feel.
Yes.
Rather than the way it made them look.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about moving for our mental health rather than to make ourselves look smaller. It was not about making ourselves smaller. It was about making our lives bigger.
Absolutely. I think that's when I really understood the power of looking after your mental health.
Yeah.
That campaign helped me. Even though I was part of it, I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, me too.
And speaking to people like you too. And I realised how much my mental health, I'd not really been looking after that enough. And once I started to change my mindset, that's when it really was the catalyst to change my life.
Yeah. I mean, it changed I got sober. It's a pretty good
How
change.
amazing is that? That's huge though.
But then the work doesn't finish there, does it? So then you get diagnosed in 2021 with cancer, with bowel cancer. I always remember on that run we did together, and you said like it had improved your life.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, that's amazing. We started talking about Gabor Mate and stress in the body and stuff. And I just was really blown away by you saying that. And then since in your book, you talk about this quite a lot, how, again, that was another moment that changed your life and not for the worse.
Yeah, and I really want to spread that message that sometimes what might feel like the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life could be, in a way, the way you respond to it, the best thing that's ever happened to you. I would never wish cancer on anyone. I also wish it hadn't happened to Kate. It hadn't happened to my family. I wish I never had to say those words, I have cancer, to them. But I know it's made me a better person, and I am grateful for this journey that I'm on. And I'm even more grateful for my stoma, because I think it almost was the cherry on the cake to fix the way that I look at my body.
Really?
Yeah.
So you saw Audrey and you suddenly were like, oh my God, look what my body does. I mean, I can literally see what my body is doing for me.
Yeah. Almost like my insides had to come to my outsides for me to appreciate this beautiful machine that I've been given. You know?
Yeah.
It works. How lucky am I to have a body that works?
But I always remember you turning up for that run, that 10K, and you were like in chemo. You were
I was on
having
chemo. Yeah.
And I remember you came, and Kate, you were there. You were at the beginning, and then you met us at the end. And you were like, your feet.
Yeah. Or the bottom of my feet. So the chemotherapy damaged the bottom of my feet.
Yeah.
My foot would bleed.
Yes, I mean, you still turned up and did that 10K with me.
Yeah.
And were a bit like, you were a bit slow, Bryony. She didn't say that.
Didn't.
She didn't say that. But given that then, a year later, you ran the London Marathon and got a Guinness World Record for the fastest time for a woman running with an ileostomy.
Yeah.
It was 3 hours?
30 minutes and 22 seconds.
Let's go back to 15-year-old Adele in Southport, who felt wrong, you know, to say, oh, by the way, just FYI, when you're 42, you're going to get a Guinness World Record for running a marathon really fucking quickly. Like, I feel like that, you'd be like, no, I think you've got the wrong Adele.
Absolutely. You saying that's just giving me goosebumps. There is no way that I would ever believe that was possible. I wouldn't think that was in me.
Now, can we just talk about what you're about to do?
Yeah, if all goes to plan.
Which it will.
I'm hoping to continue my recovery from chemo and cancer, keep representing Ostomates, and have the privilege of taking on the 6 major marathons around the world.
Okay, so those are Berlin,
September, Chicago, October, New York, November. Then I get a little break.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll come and see you. We'll go and do something nice at Christmas.
Yeah. Maybe we'll run a marathon somewhere.
I said something nice.
Let's just do a half.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So then...
And then in the new year, Tokyo, Boston, and then London. And Boston and London are in the same week.
What?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Can I tell you, I ran a half marathon on Saturday, and do you know how long it took me?
How long?
The time it took you to run a whole marathon.
No, it didn't, Bryony.
With a stoma, and I had no stoma.
A half marathon's a half marathon, so it doesn't matter how long it takes you. You've done it.
Adele, you just take the compliment. You're a legend. So hang on. So that's 6 marathons in
8 months.
In 8 months.
Yeah.
And is there a set time that you want to do them in?
Yeah, I want to try and break the Guinness World Record.
Oh, right,
again.
okay, right, okay.
So I'll try and do them fast, and then hopefully, if I complete them all, I think I might be the first woman with an ileostomy to do it, but also aggregately the fastest as well.
Wow. What's it like to be able to run that quickly? That's just a question. With or without a stoma?
I think there's no easy marathons. You'll know this. I don't think it's ever easy for anybody.
It is difficult. That's the point of doing a marathon. Yeah. But I think, I think lots of people associate. So I think this is the other thing that you're one of, an amazing kind of set of cancer campaigners who are changing the landscape, whereby, we always used to think of people dying with cancer, and actually what you're doing is showing us what it's like to live with cancer. And that's really powerful, because 50% of us, I think there's like 1 in 2 of us will get cancer at some point in our lives. And, and it's amazing to see someone so soon during their recovery from bowel cancer taking on physical feats like this. It's really inspiring. And then when you add in everything else that happened pre your diagnosis, it's kind of magic.
Well, it's what you did for me with body image. You need to see these things that aren't coupled with being healthy, and having cancer. It's not considered anything to do with the health industry. But what if running or walking or moving your body helps you get better? Because to me, running is my medicine, both mentally and physically. It's helped me recover from cancer. It's helped me reclaim my body from cancer. And it keeps me looking forward and positive, because like you say, it's a choice for me. I have to choose to be happy. I have to work at it every day, because otherwise I'm going to go back to the old Adele that wasn't happy. She's still in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think she'll ever go away. So it is always just having those things built into my routine now that help me stay healthy and focused.
Isn't part of health, and I think as I get older, is accepting all of those bits of me, some of which aren't very healthy, but instead of like trying to push them away or wish them away and go, I wish that side of me didn't exist, it's accepting that they do.
Yes.
And kind of going with it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes if you have unhelpful habits, where did that come from? And just looking at the root of the problem rather than, like you say, covering up the symptom or the way that it manifests itself. Because we shouldn't feel ashamed about just trying to cope in life. Life is the marathon, isn't it? That's the hardest one.
It is.
That's the one.
Are you raising money for a charity?
Yes, I'm going to be raising money for Cancer Research UK.
And if people want to sponsor you for your amazing challenge, Adele and Audrey run the world. We're going to put the details in the show notes. And if you want to read more or hear more of Adele's story, her amazing book, Personal Best, From Rock Bottom to the Top of the World, is out now. Thank you, Adele.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Adele Roberts and Kate Holderness for being my very first guests on The Life of Bryony. Please don't forget to subscribe. And this podcast is brand new, so I'd really appreciate it if you could rate and review it on your podcast app, because it really helps me. Thank you. Each week, I'm also going to give you a recommendation. I say it's a recommendation, but it's basically something I've been loving in the last week. And the thing I've been loving, not just in the last week, but for like the last 3 or 4 months, my love for this thing is so intense and passionate that I'm going to be devastated when I get to the end of it. And that is Grey's Anatomy. I'm afraid I am the last person on the planet to have started Grey's Anatomy. I am now... I started in May, so we're September. I'm 10 seasons in, so I'm doing really well. There's another 10 to go. No spoilers, guys. No spoilers. I'm back on Friday with a bonus edition to answer your emails. You can, of course, get in touch with me. I'm just a voice note, text, or email away. All the contact details are in the show notes. See you Friday.